Hey, inspirational leaders, welcome to the Amputate to Amplify YouTube podcast. My name is John Register, and I'm a two-time and two-sport Paralympian and silver medalist, combat veteran, amputee, and top global leadership speaker on change. This show is all about learning how to amputate what limits you and amplify what causes your most tremendous success in life. I'm honored to introduce you to global leaders who share what they had to amputate and then amplify to sustain success and create faster wins, more incredible team culture, and more sustainable alignment to their company vision. Today, my guest is Gerardo Tejado, the SVP of Professional Services, GM for Meetings and Events at American Express Global Business Travel. I met Gerardo when I was invited to speak on their change as a change leadership topic for Amex GBT in Seattle, Washington, in the United States. And Gerardo said, we need to amputate the habit of staying confined to meeting rooms and missing out on the unique cultures and experiences that our travel offers. Instead, we should amplify our focus on exploring the immersing ourselves in new environments, which can transform the dynamic of our interactions and enhance our personal growth. I can't wait for you to meet Gerardo and hear the rest of this conversation. If you are excited about learning to be a better leader, you are in the right place. Remember to like and push that notification bell for future content, and then subscribe as well. And invite a friend to come on in, because two is better than one. We have deeper conversations on all these topics. So now let's get ready to learn from inspirational leader Gerardo Tejado. This podcast is brought to you by Inspired Communications International, working with business leaders who are in the midst of change and are ready to hurdle adversity, amputate fear, and embrace a new normal mindset to win the medals in their lives. They do this by interactive keynote speeches, fireside chats, sales kickoffs meetings, year-end celebrations, and much more. Write to info@johnregister.com for more information. So let's get into this interview today. I am thrilled to have on the podcast a visionary leader whose journey embodies resilience, forward thinking, and one of the most dynamic industries in the world. He is the Senior Vice President in Value Development and Marketing and the General Manager of Meetings and Events at American Express Global Business Travel. With a career that spans over a decade in high-stakes roles, my guest has been at the forefront of redefining the landscape of global business travel. His leadership not only has propelled Amex GBT, but to new heights, but has also set new standards in delivering unparalleled value and experiences to businesses and travelers worldwide. His strategic foresight and execution have consistently driven growth and innovation, expanding the company's footprint across more than 140 countries. Today, we get to uncover insights and strategies that have marked his journey as a game changer in the travel industry. We delve into the trends shaping the future, the role of innovation in staying ahead, and how leaders can future-proof their industries against the backdrop of high stakes and stress. So let's amplify the conversation with the architect of global business travel innovation, the visionary leader, the maestro of global expansion, setting the course for a new era of travel and events, the one and only Gerardo Tejado. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, John, for that introduction. Thank you very much for having me in your podcast. Very excited to be here.
So, Gerardo, I begin this podcast with a very simple question. It's always the same question with every guest and kind of jumps into this conversation. You're writing a book. Not that you're writing it, but if you're writing a book. And the book was entitled The Meeting Professional's Anarchist Guide to Destroying Your Next Event. What might be one of your chapter titles?
I would say what I would say is get outside of the meeting room. We have the benefit of being able to travel a lot of times to unique places, to places that we only get a chance to travel once every so often or more times. And this idea of just staying in a meeting room and not knowing the culture, the people, the experiences, I think that would be front and center into what I would say would be something that you need to really focus on. And I say this because one of my first meetings when I kind of took a role within American Express Global Business Travel, I ended up traveling to Miami to a very nice high-end property, had a meeting and with our leader. We never left the meeting room. Even lunch was in the meeting room. And I was like, I'm here and they're going to ask me what I saw from that place. And that changes, I think, the dynamic of interactions. So I think that's, for me, one piece around how to, what you need to put a specific chapter around what to focus on, right? Get
Yeah.
outside.
So get outside the me. I love that. I like how you have pulled that from a lot of other things. And here's why. Uh, I love that answer so much. It's because I had a leader as well. I was working for the Better Opportunity for Single Soldiers program, and we too went to a nice location. It was in Brussels, and I took a young soldier with me. I was just recently retired for the military, and I was working for the Better Opportunity for Single Soldiers program. It was during little events, and when I got back after that 3-day event, and I went into my boss's office, and I was all excited to tell him about what had happened, and he said, "You went all that way, and you stayed in the hotel, and you didn't take that young soldier out to explore him. How dare you do that?" I was like, "Whoa, what?" So she challenged me, every place you go, and I still do it to this day, take time to get out, take time to learn so that we can, as you said, uh, have more to share about our experiences than just that square room.
Exactly. Exactly.
So when you look at, you're successful with Amex GBT and this evolving landscape, you're visionary, you've had some incredible innovation. What are the key innovation or shifts in service delivery that you envision as critical for staying ahead of this events industry?
I think I would say there are four things that are very important. Is you need to make sure that you provide the right value to your clients for the service that you're offering. Um, you need to be able to give them choice so that they can understand the trade-offs they can have when making a decision or not. Then you have to deliver on what you pitched from an experience. What is the experience that you're giving them? And then I think at the core of everything is making sure that there's a backing that what you do from a company that you're willing to back up the service that you provide on that. So the narrative that we have within the companies provide value, experience, and choice with the powerful backing of American Express GBT. That's how we position ourselves, and that's what our mantra, what we try to deliver um, when when serving for clients. No?
I saw that we met at Washington area. I think it was Washington, Seattle, Washington. Uh, you were like the Pied Piper. You are the Pied Piper. You are working with the entire room all the time, really embodying these values that you just shared with me. And one of the things that I saw and wanted to kind of dive into was, where does that come from? I mean, where's the drive? Because that was such a natural thing when I observed you in various different areas, whether it was the cocktail hour or whether it was behind the stage or whether it was on the stage. You were the same person in every one of those encounters. Where does that come from?
Um, I think it comes from my parents. I think when it started, it's you have to treat everybody with respect, and I think that is the basis of what we did. My dad was he worked in construction, so he dealt with people who were helping build things and with engineers and everybody. So at some point in time, you kind of saw that you need everybody around the floor. And he was very keen day one that you treated everybody with respect. Same thing with my room. So I think that's what happens. And there's obviously a Latin part of the culture. Well, like maybe sometimes you're a little over the top and a little more emotional and grateful on things. So I think it's those combinations of things uh, that try to work the floor and make sure that everybody feels welcome and then we say thank you. That event was for our employees and our suppliers, and the reality is it was a thank you for everybody, everything that they did on that front. So I think that's part of a job of when you're in leadership, you have to thank everybody for the work they've done.
What would you tell somebody that is in that situation and, kind of has your spirit and is telling everybody thank you, but sometimes, not oftentimes, but sometimes there's a person just doesn't get it. They're the difficult person to deal with. They're maybe the prima donna, and you have to manage those expectations or the expectation of what we're delivering. And where this is coming from, I was the CEO of a group, an association, and I was struggling. We had lost 14 FTEs out of 28 that we had, and so we're trying to rebuild this. And one of the things we started implementing was the values of the association, which were all over the place. And I saw a leader, another organization that I was speaking for. She was a new CEO, executive, multi-billion-dollar organization. And she apologized to me for having seen something the night before. And I didn't know what was going on, but what happened was they actually let one of their employees go who had been with the company like for 20, 25 years. It's a century-year-old company. And I was so impressed by that, of how to, adhere to the values. Not what is your philosophy, but what is your kind of your strategy to help those on your team that might be struggling with working with somebody that might be difficult?
So I think the first thing is you have to understand the context of where they're coming, because the perception of everybody might be slightly different depending on a personal situation, the current state of the business in different locations, right? I think it's important to get the context. And actually just had a couple of year-end conversations with my team, and that was part of the feedback is you might be right, but sometimes you have to avoid being right in order to be effective, in the sense that you need to kind of switch what you're thinking of and understand where the other person's coming. I usually try to bring up the analogy around a glass half empty or half full, to be frank, because in a lot of cases, there are opportunities that you can maximize out of a complicated situation on that front. And I would say the last one from what you said about the example of about someone leaving is I tell my team usually, obviously, we want to retain the talent. We want to help people grow, but we also need to understand that some people might have other interests. And I prefer to have a happy alumni than a disgruntled employee. So what can we make sure that people remember the time within the company as positive from a personal and professional point of view? But at the end of the day, if it fits their interest more so to leave, hey, ideally, we would love them to be excited to call themselves an former Amex GBT employee.
We're talking with Gerardo Tejado Donde. Fascinating conversation right now of what to amputate and what to amplify. Someone's coming into this business for the first time, just trying to get them up and running. What do you offer as advice for someone that's might be in college, looking forward to coming on board with your company?
Well, I think regardless of the job, you have to feel passionate. The ideal scenario is that you wake up every day and you're excited about what you're going to do. That doesn't mean that there are not challenges on a day-to-day basis, but you feel that you like the industry. And what I would say on this specific industry, we have the opportunity to meet people, to make get-togethers, meetings, events that can transform the way you see things. People, a lot of times when you travel for business, you might not remember the one-day event, the one-day meeting that you traveled to X client. But when you do meetings and events, if you do them right, people will remember them forever. So I think that is what excites the people that work in this industry, that we can actually make a difference, and people will keep talking about this XY event 5 years from now, 15 years from now. We did good, no?
Yeah. Yeah, I think the passion around it, because it is such a high stress industry. I think it's like number two to being like an astronaut.
Yeah.
And so it's really a high stressful.
And you know what? The other one is that analogy about an orchestra and having different people playing different roles. This is actually a perfect example of an industry that you need different roles, and everything needs to work together to make beautiful music.
I love that analogy. I played cello when the orchestra does my cello back here. And so I'm a recovering cellist, and it can sound really bad when everybody's not in tune and we haven't tuned our instruments. Have you found or how do you manage things when it does get out of tune? And you try to build the team back together and put them, make sure they're aligned properly to the goal or values of the client or the opportunity that's before them.
So what I try to do is try to focus team that we should start with the assumption that everybody has positive intent, that maybe the result was not there, but it wasn't because of bad will or anything. It was positive intent that something didn't work out, and then we go from there. I'm not saying it's easy, but I think if we assume that, again, we have employees that have the same principles that we worked with as a company, and we hired them because of that and their capabilities, positive intent should be the starting point of everything. And then I think maybe I'm getting older, but you get a little more it is what it is. You can focus on what you can control. There are things that you can't control. So I'll give you an example. One of the events that we did, Interaction, I think 3 years ago or something, at the middle of my presentation, the lights went out and everything went out. Like, nobody could control that piece of the pie. So you just have to maneuver it and then take it in stride, no?
Yeah, I think that's always in the context of applied improvisation. So you're just ready for what happens. So knowing where the emergency exits are in case the fire alarm goes off, and you're the one that's up on stage, you have to be able to direct the traffic or take quickly because you have the microphone. So it's up to you to guide folks. And I think that's around the crisis management. When you look at that in context, and two different things now. One is we've come out, or people have said we've come out of a very tough environment where the pandemic has hit. You had a report last year that came out, I think it was 2023, of where the industry trends are. There's a focus on equity, diversity for LGBT. Number one, how has that grown in your purview of that? And then secondarily, has another report come out? What are you seeing as the trends that are coming up for the industry that we should all be paying attention to?
So what I would say is, obviously, coming out of the pandemic, I think there was at first time everything was gloom, and people say, "Oh, the industry is going to disappear." The reality is that after being in calls like this, virtual calls and things like that, people realized how much they missed, and the value of in-person meetings, and the value of I think I read a note that 80% of communication is nonverbal. So the value of that piece of information, I think, just accelerated, and that is one of the key trends that we've seen, is that the value of meetings has increased significantly. The perception of the meetings, and especially internal, I think historically there was been a focus. Oh, you know what? If we're going to do a meeting for sales or a product launch, it's fine. But if you have to get together, I'm not sure if there's a value to that. I think that has changed. And that's some of the data that we think, because getting together the team, especially if you are a dispersed workforce where people work all over the place, I think that's become very, very important. And we just launched study with I'll forward it to you with a Harvard Business Review around the value of getting together on that front. So that you can share with your listeners. That'd be that'd be good. So I think that is one piece. That's one key trend around it. The other one is people are conscious about their time. So you need to make sure that the meetings um, or the events that they participate, there's value in the content, but there's also, let's call it, personal value, and they get something out of it, not just professionally but personally. That meaning that getting to know a little bit of the location you are, getting some mindful time to kind of reconnect. Uh, it's not 9 to 5 schedule all planned, and people can get some free time on that front. So I think that is very important. And I think on the first part of the question is we are absolutely uh, focused on committing to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I think it's not only from an employee perspective, but also making sure that we um, adjust our meetings so that we allow everybody to be able to maximize the use of their attendance to a meeting. So making sure that meetings are can support any type of uh, uh, inclusion needs. No? That's what I would say in that short term.
Yeah, that's really good. I've as I go around and travel from meetings to meetings, a lot of times, as a person traveling with a disability and an amputee, I can kind of manage steps and stairs, but I know some of my colleagues can't, right? And so it's difficult to get up on stages and that, especially if they are the primary presenter at a specific time. But also, we had a conversation with a hotelier. I'll remain nameless, but this was my last presentation of the year, and they were talking about how to add revenue. They wanted to know how to add revenue. I said, I can add 20% to your bottom line right now. If you just do universal design for all of your rooms, because you're putting kits together anyway, if you just do universal design, you don't have to have an ADA accessible room because all of your rooms are aesthetically pleasing and built beyond the ADA. And when a person goes that has a disability into a room like that, they tell everybody. And so it's a 10 time, 15 time multiplier because everybody's going to start going to your hotel because of that. And we see that there's 15, 20% of the world's population that has a disability with discretionary income that wants to travel. So that's for everybody that's out there, that's for free. I just gave it to you for free. You get it at 20% to your bottom line. When you're looking at this, and thank you for that, sharing the Harvard Business Review that's coming out. There are a lot of people saying that the pandemic is over. I still think we're in it for a couple of reasons. But the primary reason is because I had a chance to speak for a group of graduates who are coming out of high school. And these folks for about almost 2 years, 18 months, didn't have social interaction. And now they're starting to they've lost some of those social constructs that we have had. And there's a blip that's going along with us. And they're going to become the event leaders that haven't had interactions with each other or lost a little bit of that social skill. How are you focused on trying to close that gap, bridge that gap?
So I actually completely agree with what you're saying. I see that because when the pandemic hit, my kids were high school. One of them actually didn't have a graduation. So you could see the impact there on that piece of the pie. I think one of the key things we're trying to do is get our teams together so that they interact more. And that's where, kind of referencing back to my comment around internal meetings, we need to, we might bring the talent because we see that they have the same principles that we have, and they might have the knowledge, but the other piece, they need to learn from their peers in the industry how to react to some social interaction. So we're trying to bring them all together so we kind of help them on that front, because as you said, it's almost like learning a different language and they lost 2 years about it. So you need to make it up at some point in time. So I think that is very important. And I think that's where getting together helps. Those water cooler conversations, those social interactions that we were talking about when you walk around the room, I think that's very important on that front. And I think leaders have to be conscious of that point because, yeah, people were affected differently. And that is a cohort that probably we do not talk that much about, but it was clearly impacted on that front.
It was fascinating to watch. I went from being a person who said I wanted to support my family, be home, and be with my wife, and to actually being a person that was home and with my wife during that time, taking walks, and we still do that today. We try to, as I said, she's a flight attendant with Southwest Airlines in our pre-conference show. And one of the things that we do, people say, "Well, you're always traveling. Both of you are missing each other." I said, "No, actually, what we do is we make home wherever Southwest Airlines lands." And so I just jump on a flight. I'll go wherever she is, the overnight trip with her, just so we can have that time together. And we have that opportunity to do so. So leaning into some of those moments. I want to kind of shift a little bit to thinking about, kind of the mantra of this show, amputate to amplify. And in your opinion, what are some of the things that either MXGBT or other folks in the industry and that supply chain need to release or let go of, amputate? And what are some things that we need to amplify in order to find the successes that we want to in the events industry?
I think I'll start with amplify. I think getting knowledge from as many people, places, sources of information is important. And I say this, for example, in my role, it's as important for me to get feedback from my direct reports than from everybody across the organization. Because again, you hear the context of where they're coming, and that creates a different starting point to make decisions. So I think amplify is that everybody has a voice. And regardless of where you're in the organization, you should feel comfortable talking, escalating either opportunities or risks that you see from a business perspective. And I guess building on that a little bit about amputate is amputate decision making at the top of the org and move that down across the org. Not every decision has to go to the top. I think that's somewhat of a culture in a lot of places. But if we can move decisions to whoever is best positioned, regardless of their role, title, or whatever, I think that's something that we could amputate in that sense.
That's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I love that. That's the first time I've heard that, and that's great. That's why you're the leader. Decisions making at the top, let that go, move it down, press that down. When you also said about having all voices need to be heard, one of the things that I've done with is just when I was interviewing a person from Marriott and very high level senior executive too. And I never met the person, right? But we've had this during the pandemic. We had a great time at a conference. She was on a stick virtually. I had a live audience in front of me and a virtual audience, and I'm on my iPad trying to manage this whole 3-ring circus. It was incredible. But what I did afterward was I started giving out these Inspirinator awards. I went to that specific hotel, and I saw somebody give me exceptional customer service. I mean, just beyond the order, just checking me in. But they went above and beyond. I would take a picture with them, attach my little Inspirinator award to them, and send it off to the executive. And it was nothing. I wasn't looking for anything back, but it became this really fun interaction. Oh my gosh! And then that person would send a note to the GM of that specific hotel, recognize an employee. So it's this whole thing now that we have. And I think that is one of the things of having voice and letting not only internally people have voice, but voice in the communities that we're serving, right? I think that's powerful. Both of those two answers, great. Love that.
Yeah. I'll give you an example of one thing that we did on that front. someone that was very passionate about combating human trafficking. She came up and she said, you know what? This is an initiative. We don't have it in the company. Would love to see if we can do something about it. That started during the pandemic. We looked into it. We said aligned to our values. Yes. What can we do about it? Can we make a difference? And now we've trained everybody in the company. So that came from within. Because again, and we're very excited about that action that we're doing. And we ended up recognizing this person because absolutely bringing something like that as important. That's what you want from team, to tell you what you need to do better.
So brilliant. Yes, that's crazy. And just the results it will make. You never know. Just impacting one person's life and getting them out of the situation. It's just, I get goosebumps just thinking about it. MXGPT really making a powerful impact around the world in that space. Is there anything that we have not talked about that you would like to share?
Well, I'm very excited about getting a chance to speak with you. I think that our experience having you as a speaker was amazing, and it opened our eyes into not only how we manage our business and how we should prioritize and around what we need to amplify and amputate. So I think that I'm grateful for that opportunity on that front. And I think, obviously, from a GPT perspective, it's all about the values that we have, and hopefully it's about delivering on the value prop that we talked about, being able to provide value, choice, experience with a powerful backing. So I think that's what I would say. Thank you very much, and hopefully it's good enough that I'll get invited again to your podcast.
I would love that. And anybody else that you think in your world, your sphere of influence,
absolutely,
would be powerful. Maybe we can do a show that has multiple, talking heads on this, and you do something live, even if we get a chance to meet up again. I think that the value is so great for this, our community. I believe I'm part of the supply chain. I don't think I'm the prima donna. I think I'm just a very small microcosm of what it takes for an event to actually be successful. And so I want to thank you for allowing me to grace that stage with you all, because I learned a tremendous amount. And I want to give a shout out to Speak Inc. And Lisa Warren, who put me up there. But thank you for being on this show. I'll wrap it up real quick. That is a wrap for Amputate to Amplify podcast. Gerardo Tejado, Dande just really crushed it for us. Getting outside the meeting was what he talked about in one of the chapters that he would write, to know the culture. So the better we know the culture, the better we are able to support our clients that we are serving. And I'm your host, John Register, professional speaker guiding us through the transformative journeys of some of the most inspiring leaders in the business events world. Remember, it's not just about facing challenges, it's about converting them into your greatest success. We thank again Inspired Communications International for sponsoring this show. Inspired Communications International, working with business leaders who are ready, keyword ready, to hurdle adversity, amputate fear, and embrace a new normal mindset to win the medals in their life by delivering interactive keynote speeches, fireside chats, sales kickoffs, year-end celebrations, and much more. Visit us at johnregister.com/amputate to amplify podcast.com. Thanks for tuning in. Please subscribe, like, and share this podcast with your besties and mosties, and keep amplifying your life. Until next time, stay vitam sperare. That means breathe life and go forth. Inspire your world. Bye for now. Wow. Now, I know you enjoyed that episode with Gerardo, so please ring the notification bell and then subscribe to this channel. If you want to take your learning to another level, then come join me and join our team at JR 90-Day Leadership Sprints, where we are taking action to become better leaders for ourselves and for our teams and for our communities. And every 90 days, we dive deep into a specific leadership challenge and give you practical tools to perfect yourself in that area. So go to johnregister.com, click that training navigation bar, and sign up. Go for it, inspire your world, and we'll see you back here next time for another Amputate to Amplify Success YouTube podcast. I'm John Register. Bye for now.